I wish you guys could all stand up on the stage and just see what I see from here. I'm so lucky that I'm invited to be an MC because I get to see seriously, the rainbow coalition of people, and which is important today. So thank you again, because you inspire me, and as a journalist, you know, us journalists who have been slammed here and there need inspiration today. It's important, so thank you for always supporting every reporter who goes out there and collects the truth, despite how many people will get angry at us for the truth. That's right. You know, another person who's very inspiring is our keynote speaker. I was looking at her resume and I thought, oh my gosh, Rebecca, you have not done nothing. Nothing compared to her. I mean, this resume goes on forever. So I kind of condensed it a little bit because she is amazing. I mean, seriously. Again, as a journalist, I meet amazing people, but this woman is unbelievable. Let me give you a little bit about Marianne Thompson-Frenk. She is a humanitarian. Okay, so we're going to start the list. Humanitarian, a conscious capitalist, a published writer, internationally award-winning sculptor, a human rights environmental activist, we're not stopping there, a social responsible investor, and an international public speaker. That's just me condensing her resume. Let me keep going. Marianne serves as president and co-founder of the John Phil Thompson Foundation. She's also the president of the Mnemosyne Institute, an international nonprofit she founded with her husband, Joshua. She has led the Institute in providing humankind with the means to encourage positive, peaceful, global collaborations in all areas of knowledgeable through virtual and physical campuses for humanity. Campuses for humanity, that really just says a lot. So please welcome this wonderful woman with a wonderful resume who's definitely making our world much better with her innovative ideas, generous giving, and commitment to peace. Welcome, Marianne Thompson-Frenk.
Thank you. I'm usually pretty short, so I'm going to probably try and put this thing on so I don't sink on. Well, I don't know how to fix that, so I'll You know, when I was asked here to come speak to all of you about peace, it was quite intimidating because I started thinking about Vivian and all the wonderful things that Vivian has done with her life. And the fact that as a woman, I'm here in the state of Texas, I have a whole lot of my personal human rights because of this incredible woman over here. And I started thinking about Bill and Norma Matthews and thinking about how they laid the roadwork so that someone like me gets to do what I do. And then just to make myself a little more intimidated, I thought I'd look at the list of the people that are on that board, and I saw Jo Wharton, and I even saw one of my art teachers from when I was in kindergarten to fourth grade, Dee Mayes. You know, if you want to be intimidated, look out there and see your teacher right there. You know? I mean, I remember being a kid and going, oh, is this going to be good enough? And now I'm looking at her going, okay. Then, you know, just because I felt like I just wasn't intimidated enough, I thought, you know what, I'm going to bring another one of my mentors over here, and that is a man that has really walked his talk, and that is Dr. Don Everett Beck. I want to invite Don to stand up, because this man helped select Nelson Mandela, that he helped guide Nelson Mandela, and when Nelson Mandela was on his deathbed, he sent for Don and asked him to hold his hand. Don is a peacemaker in the extreme. So I couldn't come up here without talking about that. So what I want to talk to you guys is about people are asking all the time, what is peace? How can we make peace possible? What could we possibly do to make it come about? And they want hope. Well, I'm not going to give you hope. I'm going to give you truth. And if in that truth you find yourself motivated to go out there and do something to help shape this world in the way you want it shaped, then you will become the hope you're looking for. Because here's the key. Whenever you go out in the world and you're searching for that one thing, you're searching for that one piece of hope, you're searching for that one voice, you're searching for that one opportunity, you're looking for that leader and you can't find it, That is God saying to you, guess what your job is? So if you're not finding what you're looking for in the media, in the news, in your neighborhood, then be that thing that you're looking for. So with that understood, here's the other little piece I'm going to give you. People always talk about what is the enemy of peace. Now, people talk about fear, they talk about hate. We look and we see the alt-right, which unfortunately has its foundations here in our city of Dallas. We look and we see what happened up at the Native Americans up in North Dakota. And unfortunately, the man that's been doing that, and if any of you have been up there, I know Joshua and I went up there, and the atrocities that we saw were horrifying. Amnesty International put it on this list of things that people need to be aware of in this world, because they had people putting barbed wire outside fences, and they were showering them with freezing cold water after they stripped them. And this was our own government, and it was allowed for a corporation to come out and do that. And unfortunately, that CEO is, again, right here in Dallas, Texas. So, when you start seeing all these things all over the world, and we realize that this is happening and based out of our own backyard, well, it's incumbent upon us who live in Dallas, Texas, to call people on it, to stand up for truth, to not be afraid to speak. Because I can tell you right now, the one worst thing you can do in this world is to remain silent. If you see something happening in front of you, speak out. I have been that young girl because of my skin color. I was adopted into a wealthy family, and I'm very, very blessed and grateful. My mother is here right now today, Deborah Thompson.
Yay.
And my parents told me this story. That in 1977, after they had brought me home, they held a big, big party at their house, and they wanted to show off their child. And she said, and my father told me this, at least a third of the people got up and left because they couldn't stand the idea of interracial adoption. That's 1977. I remember in 1994 to 1996, being at the mall at North Park holding my white boyfriend's hand, and I had people who were my skin color and people that were white who spat on us because they didn't approve of the interracial, dating. And you know what? I walked. I still walked with my then boyfriend, and now I walk with my husband. And now that we kept going through that, I see so many people who are interracially married. I see children that come out. And when I had some of my friends who were, gay, that were also getting spat on in one period of time, I said, just keep holding your hand, and you hold your head high, and you keep walking. Because that's how you change the world. Now, a lot of us feel like we're not doing enough with our lives. We don't have enough money. We don't have enough contacts. But I want to give you an image. There's so many different visions of the way the world works today. And one of my favorite, though, is Teilhard de Chardin, who was a Jesuit monk. And he talked about the noosphere. And for those of you that aren't familiar with the noosphere, you can think about that big ball, that Union Tower downtown. Imagine a ball like that, all those triangles making a big sphere going around the world. And then imagine tinier and tinier triangles inside each one of those things coming down, 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 until it's finally touching each one of us on the head and sharing this great big consciousness. That's roughly what Teilhard de Chardin talked about. Now, of course, you can toss in some quantum physics and whatnot, and you get a much more involved thing. But, I just want you to hold that image, because that's how important each of you are. If you talk to quantum physicists, you'll talk about something, the macro, and you'll talk about the micro, and people say, astrophysics, quantum physics, oh wow, which one's the reality? And in truth, if you look at, for example, the work of Nassim Harriman, you'll see how they all combine, and one holds the smaller, and the bigger relies on the smaller, and we all coexist in that kind of way, in that intimate way. We can't really talk about peace without talking about consciousness. Because the problem today is one about consciousness. And I'm not talking about some new agey way. I'm talking about how are we each consciously aware of how we're navigating the world around us. Now, a lot of people, want to talk about peace and sing Kumbaya and wear their little peace symbols and say, isn't that the way the world is? Well, no. Unfortunately, peace will never be possible until it is as profitable as war. So, those of us who are saying, oh, we're working for peace, and then we want to look at our economy as the enemy, we literally cannot afford to do that. We have to take those tools and make them our own. Everything that you see that is hurting the world around you today, that is a tool. It's not evil in itself. It's a tool. And those of us that are trying to push for progress have to understand that it is a tool to use. I can take a hammer and I can kill someone with it, or I can take a hammer and I can build something with it. Our politics is a tool. Our money is a tool. What we speak, how we act, and how we buy is a tool. For those that think they can get off easy by saying, I just don't want to know about any of that. I don't want to watch the news. I don't want to be aware. Guess what? Too bad. In this globalized world, each one of you is more powerful than anyone has ever been before. You, each one of you in this room, has access to more knowledge than generations before you ever did at the touch of a button. Each one of you can have your voice heard on the other side of the world in a way that you used to have to be famous in order to achieve. What are you doing with that today? Are you speaking up, or are you remaining silent in the face of adversity? When you see things that hurt, when you see the news and you think to yourself, cannot be right, are you speaking out? When you see someone that is denied service, when you see a politician that says, we will not allow LGBT people to be treated in the emergency rooms on the basis of their sexual orientation, do you see Jim Crow? When you see Native Americans who are being told by the person that our president has made in charge of their reservation land that he plans to privatize as much as possible and sell it off to the highest bidder, are you speaking out for the people whose land we now live on? When you see people that are being told that look like me that we must carry IDs in our possession that prove that we are legal, and our police force is being told, you must go check anyone that you think might be illegal, and that basically means a brown person. Are you remembering what it was and the Holocaust and how people had to carry IDs? Do we connect our past with our future? And do we connect ourselves as tomorrow's ancestors and recognize that it is incumbent upon us to be all that we are meant to be, to achieve and to be able to forge this future together? Make no bones about it, right now we are living in a nation that is holding us to the fire and saying, what truth will we be? Thomas Jefferson used to talk about, and I love going to his memorial up in D.C., and you can see in there these words, and he says, my greatest hope is that what we design today will be considered antiquated by future generations. Well, that's my hope too. Most people will tell you that I'm a flaming progressive, and I am. I mean, you cannot look like me. I am a bisexual, brown-skinned woman who happens to also be an environmentalist, who is adopted into an interracial family by a mother who was a Protestant and a father who was a Catholic. And let me tell you, I cannot be other than somebody who stands for progress. And when I hear people say, let's make America great again, I want to say yes. I want America to be great. But it's going to be great if every single person who thinks like me and every single person who does not think like me, if every single person who looks like me and every single person who does not look like me, every single person that believes like me and every single person who does not believe like me gets to be part of making that vision possible. So, when we talk about America and our country and its role in the world, there's an awful lot of people who think that greatness comes from being siloed off with the world. And unfortunately, I gotta tell you, that ship's already sailed. We are interconnected, whether we like it or not. If I go and I buy something, at Walmart and it's made in China, I'm supporting slavery. And I'd like to know how many people decided that they didn't like the statue of Robert E. Lee. And then they went out and protested, and then they went and bought something at Walmart made in China. I'm much more concerned. And yes, I'm glad the statue's gone. I will go on record and say that. I think it belongs in a museum. I think it's history, and we should remember it, and we need to remember it well, because we do not want to go back. But I'm far more concerned with how am I supporting slavery today? Now, the people that go and they buy something like that, they say, well, if I don't do that, I can't afford these things. I can't afford this quality of life. Well, if you go back in the history of the South and you go and you hear what our forefathers said, they used to say, guess what? You know, if we don't have slavery, we can't afford the quality of life. We can't have the things we used to have. So we can't be making that same argument if we're going to be all gung-ho about a statue. The reason I'm sharing these various things with you is we have to be aware of our hypocrisy as activists. We cannot just go and carry a sign. We have to live it. We have to be it. We have to be that voice our ancestors dreamed would be possible. Now, I've seen a whole lot of Latina people here today, and it's wonderful to see you. And, you know, I was just in Mexico. And this is something that's happening down there, too. If you have more Spanish blood, you're up here. If you have more Native American blood, you're down here, instead of thinking of themselves as a whole. I don't know what it is with us as Homo sapiens that we like to divide ourselves up and say, this is above, this is below, this is, you know, we need to get rid of all that. It's that grand diversity that gives us strength. And it's apathy, which is the enemy of peace. So we may talk about hate, we may talk about fear, we may talk about ignorance, but it is the apathy, the lack of desire and passion to look with open eyes and open hearts at our neighbors, and the lack of will to act and be that virtue of truth through how we live. Each of you has that opportunity right now more than anyone else before you. Each of you comes from a long line of people that struggled and worked and toiled so that you could exist today. I don't know your individual stories, but I promise you, people sacrificed for you to be right here and to have the free will to do what you were doing. And I promise you, if you're educated, somebody fought along the way so that you could be educated. And I promise you, if you've achieved something, received an award, or if anyone pays attention to your voice, there is somebody along the way that fought so that your voice would be respected. Be that ancestor for those who come after and create a world that we dream of. Be who you want this world to be. And when you look for hope in the midst of all these terrible things that we are hearing on the news, and you don't like what you see, you create that news. You be that news. You be that voice. Because I don't want to hear anyone coming to me and say, oh, this is too bad. Oh, this hurts. I don't like this kind of person. I don't like what they're saying. Then you speak louder. You reach across the table. And I promise you, if you can't find something in common, then the problem is inside ourselves. We can find something in common. I talked to a white supremacist who happened to like Tex-Mex food. Thought that was interesting. We can find commonality. We can forge something based on that. And when I look back at my own history, and I see the people that made that possible for me today, I look at my father, I look at my grandparents, people who fought the Ku Klux Klan. And I had somebody that came and worked with us at the Mendocino Institute. And one day we were talking, and I'm sharing this story about how my grandparents are out there, and there was this big flaming cross, and how terrified they were. And this person that worked for me, he looked at me and went, when was that? I think that was my grandfather. And we found out his grandfather was the Green Dragon, or whatever they call him, and out there, and he looked at me, and I looked at him, and this wonderful man, his name was Ken Campbell, he was in charge of our interfaith, intercultural outreach. And he looked at me and said, well, you won. And I'm sharing this with you because we may not see the results immediately in our lifetime. But look at how that battle was won in 3 generations. Look at how my teacher, Dee Mayes, while she did not try to intentionally put these concepts in my mind, she told me she was fighting for this when she was teaching me. Look at how my mother, who dealt with so much hate because she decided to adopt me, did it anyway. Look at how she and others who go to the Cathedral of Hope walk through crowds that sometimes stand there and say, in the name of Jesus Christ, you're going to hell. And she told me, I've seen it all before. We did that when they were dealing with integration. I've seen it all before. We will rise. We have that passion. And if I can get people to get along, we've had deep, deep reasons not to get along. And I negotiated the first treaty between Hopi and Navajo nations 300 years, and people said it couldn't be possible. And we sat there, and they had every reason not to get along. There are people that had just beaten each other up from either tribe, like within that time frame when we were sitting down at the table. And I'm looking at them, and they're looking at me, and I brought out a chessboard. And I said, each one of you is a pawn on one side of this board. You know what the other side is? The other side understands how economics is linked. The other side understands how politics is linked. And if you keep seeing yourselves as a pawn, you will never defeat the other side of a chessboard as a single pawn. Now, right now in our nation, we have demographics that are targeted. We have LGBT, we have Hispanics, we have Jews, we have Muslims, we have progressive women. I think these groups have been charged with everything from causing 9/11 to causing the hurricanes that happened recently. If we were that powerful, boy, the world would be a little different. Well, let me tell you, I've got a hurricane in me. And I know you do too. And we will unleash it because it comes from the voice of this earth that is hurting. And we have within ourselves the power that no one else has ever dreamed, because now not only do we have the voices of our ancestors, we have the technology at our fingertips. And that is an alchemy that the world has been waiting for. And if you are with me right now, I'm going to ask you right now to stand up. I want to know who here is strong enough, who here is bold enough, who here is going to not be silent in the face of fear, who here refuses to be afraid. I want to know which one of you knows exactly how you're going to make a difference today. I want to know which one of you is not going to cower in the face of oppression. And I want to know which among you has the strength and the vitality to stand and create this nation and are trying to be a part of the world in the way we dream. You are the future of this nation, and you are the future of this world, and do not let anyone tell you different.